Hey folks, Lisa Ziegler dropping in here on a Sunday evening. I'm really excited tonight. I am going to be joined by a special guest tonight, and it is Wanda of Fox Hollow Peonies. And she actually grows flowers in Alaska, y'all. I cannot wait to talk to her. And let's learn more about what she's doing up there in Alaska. I came to know Wanda because she is alumni of several of our courses, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to her tonight about how she, what helped her from Steve and Gretel's course. So Wanda, if you just request, actually, let me see if I can request for you to join me here. So I'm join me here, Wanda. And so once um, I'll do it again. Technology is crazy, y'all. You know that? Sometimes all we have to do is hit the wrong button. So I've invited you again. There she is. Hi, Wanda.
Hi, great to see you.
You too. You too. So tell us first out of the gate, what's the temperature up there in Alaska?
It is 15 below,
Ooh,
and yesterday it was 21 below, and I had a winter holiday bazaar to go to. So here I am toting all these boxes and stuff in at 21 below. I'm thinking, this is ridiculous.
oh, that is so awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me tonight. I know that
Sure.
we have chatted via social media, typing a whole lot for
Hmm.
years now, it seems like. But I'm just really excited to talk to you. And so out of the gate, I want you to tell us, so what is it like growing flowers in Alaska?
Well, we have a very short season. And I originally started out just growing peonies, but and have added on other cut flowers. So it just means that we have to do a lot of things to make take advantage of our season. I start, a lot of seeds. And back my upstairs where my boys used to stay when they were here, we have a big rec room. It turns into a complete seed starting area, and because I have to start a lot of things early and just keep them growing, and we have frozen ground well into May, and
Wow.
so and there's a kind of a rule of thumb up here that you don't put anything out till June 1st. So it makes some interesting you know interesting adjustments we have to make to try to get flowers. But our peonies, amazingly, peonies are amazing flower. They survive our 40 below winters here as long as we have, about a foot of snow cover. Snow is God's insulation. And so
Exactly.
they survive as long as we get a good foot or so of snow. It's just amazing.
Let me get
Hi to all my flower friends out there in social media world. Good to see all of you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I haven't coughed all day. I have a head cold. So sorry, y'all.
Okay.
So Wanda, what I want to know first is, if I can get it out, what led you to grow flowers, period? What got you where you are?
So we have an amazing story of how our farm started, and I don't have time probably to tell you the whole story. If you go on our Instagram page and go to my videos, about a year, I was doing a thing called Fridays at Fox Hollow, And I was sharing a lot of stories about our farm, and the first two videos of that kind of shares in depth how our farm got started. But basically back in 2005, we had a really dry summer, and a neighbor down the highway from us, without thinking, threw their hibachi coals into the woods. And the next thing we know, there was a huge wildland fire that was raging up the highway. It burned thousands of acres here in our area. And the next thing I know, a few mornings later, the firefighters were knocking on our door saying that the fire was headed right towards our house.
Wow.
And so thankfully, thank the Lord, we were able to, our neighbors came from all over to help us. The local fire department came, and then there was a wildland firefighter team here, and they managed to get the fire put out, but it burned right up to our house.
Gosh.
And, they kept telling us to leave, and my husband kept saying, we're not leaving till I see the house burning. So, but anyways, we had this big woods to one side of our house that was all burned. It was standing still, but it was all standing burned wood. And like many Alaskans, we heat our house with wood. So we had this great stand of nice dried firewood to use, which we used for 3 or 4 years. And then, it turned out we had this big cleared area. And my husband kept saying, we got to do something with this. So we had this big cleared field that needed a mission. Well, I'm a teacher. I retired from teaching about 1.5 years ago, but I was taking a class at the university at the time on teachers and agriculture. And we happened to have the keynote speaker was the Department of Ag head for Alaska. And she was sharing, and this was in 2010, she was sharing things that were happening in agriculture in Alaska. And she said, if I had any land right now, I'd be putting in peonies.
Oh my goodness.
It turned out they, discovered that our peonies are blooming at a time where they're actually not blooming anywhere else in the world. And she said, we have some people who are just starting to grow peonies and see if it can be a viable agriculture crop for Alaska. So I went home that day and told my husband, I know what's going in that field, honey. Which is kind of funny because he is a retired cop and is a teamster, pretty tough guy. And he was like, we're growing flowers. You're kidding me, right? But I talked him into it, and we planted our first 250 that fall. And we just kept adding on every year till we finally are up to about 5,000 plants right now.
Wow.
And then, of course, if any of you grow peonies, you can't harvest all of them at the close stage because you just can't get to all of them. They come on so fast. So after our first years of harvesting, I thought I've got to do something with these peonies that, are partially open, because I don't want to just throw them in the compost pile. They're so beautiful. So I thought, okay, I'm going to see if I can sell bouquets. So that's when I started 4 years ago, going to a farmer's market. And then when COVID hit, I had to pivot and, okay, what can I do to make some money? And I decided I'd offer bouquet subscriptions, which I did 2 years ago. This summer, it doubled. Wow. And it looks like next summer is going to be doubling again. Last summer, I had 24 bouquet subscriptions.
Wow, good job.
I'm kind of the only florist in the area. The nearest town is Fairbanks, which is over an hour away. So I'm always getting these panic calls from husbands saying, it's our anniversary today. Can you please throw together a bouquet for me? I'll come and get it. Or birthdays. And I also have provided flowers for weddings. So it kind of has expanded into more than just growing peonies.
So you do grow more than peonies then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell us, so you said you don't put anything in the ground, I would guess annuals, before June, right? Right, before June 1st. So what else are you growing? And you're growing in the field and in houses, or just in the field, or what is your mix kind of?
Yeah, so I just grow in the field right now. I just grow. I had some garden boxes. I actually I'm the third generation of farmers in my family. My grandparents and my parents both had farms in Minnesota. And so I grew up, my mom always had a big garden and greenhouse. So I have always also had a garden. But when I started doing the flowers, I turned all my garden boxes into flower boxes, and then have added on some more rows as we have as I've expanded what I'm growing. And then funny story, you probably saw last year that I got all excited this summer about succession planting sunflowers and planted a bunch without thinking about where I was going to put them. And at one point I was out of space and my husband didn't have time to like create a new row for me. I was thinking, what can I put these in? And I was in the grocery store and saw these kids swimming pools sitting there. I thought, I can use those. So I bought 6 little kids swimming pools, had my husband drill holes in them, and I have all those lined up, and that's where my further successions of sunflowers went. And
That
they're
is
very
pretty
colorful. They look
awesome.
really cute.
You know, if nothing else, flower farmers are so innovative, aren't we? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you just do what you have to do.
Yep.
So, how do you sell your peonies? Do you ship, or how do you um, do sell your main crop beyond bouquet subscriptions?
Yeah, so we ship our peonies out all over the United States, and we ship all the way from, my minimum order is 2 dozen, and all the way up to, I have boxes that hold 200. So I ship, and it's an hour's drive for us from our home to FedEx. So I ship FedEx overnight mostly, and so Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I make trips up to Fairbanks to FedEx and ship all over the United States.
So, when is your shipping season? So, just so people have an idea of, here in, of course, I'm in Virginia, so that's the
Mhm.
Mid Atlantic. For us, peony season is basically May and early June at the latest. So, what is your shipping season?
So we start harvesting around July 1st. And so our
Wow.
season is July. And I have a professional floral chiller. And you can store peonies, as some of you have probably discovered, for quite a long time if you keep them at about 33 degrees.
Right.
So this year I shipped all the way into early September.
And you know how many designers and florists get requests for peonies in the middle of summer and late
Mm-hmm.
summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they need are Alaskan peonies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Until Alaska came on, brides couldn't have peonies and, especially late summer weddings. They just weren't available.
Right. So you are an alumni of several of our
Mm-hmm.
courses, and one of them, which is Stephen Gretel's, correct?
Right.
And so do you have any houses yet, or is that something you're still working on, or where are you with growing in structures?
So, yes, I have realized in the last year or two, because our cold goes into the spring so late, and I really do need flowers ready to go when the peonies are ready to go. So I
Yeah,
can have the other flowers to add to the bouquets. So I getting a hoop house or greenhouse was in our sort of farm plan for sometime in the next few years. So I took Stephen Grutter's class last January with that purpose of knowing that I was going to need to add a greenhouse or something sometime in the future in order to
right.
extend my season. And so it just turned out, this is kind of funny, but we have a good friend who's a pilot here in our little town. And I was driving by his house one time this last summer and glanced over in his yard, and I'd never really seen it before, but there's this little structure tucked into the woods. And I thought, that's a hoop house. And I went back and kind of looked closer at it, and it was just sitting there and obviously hadn't been used for a number of years. So I had my husband call him, and it turns out he had bought that to use as a structure to store his airplane parts and stuff. But he hadn't used it for quite a few years. And my husband said, could we buy it from you or something? And he said, yeah, I just want it out of my yard. That'd be great. So this
Awesome.
so I'm just really tickled because this hoop house just kind of fell into our lap, and I feel that the Stephen Gretel's class totally prepared me for knowing how to use it and what I can plant in it. And that's the thing about your classes is all of your classes I feel are like you're getting tools to put in your farmer toolbox. And you know how it is with your toolbox at home, right? You might have some odd tool that you never know when you're going to need it, but then your toilet breaks and then you need it. And this
Exactly.
is the same thing, even though I haven't used every single thing of all your
Right.
courses and your class. Oh man, I was used to growing vegetables, and then I switched to growing flowers, and flowers are a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
And so my first year I really failed. I had lots of things that didn't germinate, and I was so frustrated and feeling like a failure. And I grew vegetables just fine. Why can't I grow flowers? And that was a total game changer for me. But yeah, every class you take, you get tools in your toolbox. And with COVID, we have all had to pivot so many
Yeah.
times and change what we're doing. And I just feel that any classes you can take to add tools to your toolbox, so you have them there. And now I just totally know, what to do. And I can hit the ground running this spring when we get it moved over and put up. I don't get it put up. I don't have to uh, try to figure out how to use it and what to do.
That is such a great way of saying it, Wanda. That it's so funny that we're already getting emails from people that say things like, oh my gosh, but the class doesn't start till January and I want to get my house up and planted. And so many times when we feel like we're behind the eight ball, right, instead of in front of it. And it is so wonderful to at least have your feet wet when
Mm-hmm.
you walk into a new area, right? I mean, I totally feel that way. I mean, even in business, talking to somebody that's done it and have their advice and wisdom and support makes all the difference. So, I was just talking to Steve and Gretel,
Mm-hmm.
earlier
Yeah, I
tonight. Well, you
saw
were
that.
over
Mm-hmm.
there. Yeah, I saw you on there.
Yeah.
And, I was reading through their syllabus, and I mean, just things you don't think about till you've done it, right? How they talked about when you buy a used greenhouse or hoop house or whatever it is, how it's so much better for you to be the person to take it down so you can see how it was put together, because
Mm-hmm.
you have to take it home and then put it back together and marking it. And I just think it's so great to have that tool to put in your toolbox.
Right.
That's a great way. I'm going to have to steal that from you. Um, that
And
is
then
just,
there are like things like their cheat sheets that they share. Oh my gosh,
they're
those
pretty
they
priceless.
have a sheet on how many transplants you need depending on your spacing and how wide your bed is.
Yeah,
They've done all that work. I mean, you don't have to have a greenhouse or a hoop house
right.
to use that. They've got sheets on their planting schedule
Yes,
all through the year. I mean, there's just things like that and their pests. They go through every single disease that could attack your plants and the pests that could, and they use biologicals. That's what I really love so much. They use biologicals to treat
yes.
all those things rather than pesticides. And just any farmer can use all of that stuff. It is just so useful, even if you don't have a hoop house or greenhouse yet.
One of the things that impresses me about Steve and Gretel is how innovative they are. I mean, they work so hard. Tonight when I was talking to them, I could tell them they were just so beat.
Yeah, they
This
look
is like
tired.
they are tired. I mean,
Mhm.
between the dahlias and just getting everything done. That's why the class is in January and February. Hopefully they'll be a little rested up by then. But even in spite of that, they continue to go the extra mile to work with the universities. I mean, their soil steaming project they're working on with that grant. I mean, how much easier would it be just to use some product to
Mhm.
just fix it? But
Right.
they really do, they go the extra mile to really try to do things like you're saying that are more not necessarily organic, but less invasive.
Right.
Um, and I think the thing that Gretel has shared with me is that the number one crops they get questions about are ranunculus, anemones, lisianthus,
Right.
and tulips.
Mhm.
And they do deep dives on those, right? I mean, didn't
Right.
you feel pretty good about, I mean, the ranunculus business? I mean, that's why Steve said they're up to 18 houses, and
Mhm.
number 18 is a 3 bay. So I think, Gretel looked at him like, I think that counts as 3 houses, not one house. So
Right.
anyway, they're just too cute together. But the depth of their wisdom and experience and their willingness to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, I wasn't there, but I was a friend of theirs when they lost those greenhouses to snow load. I mean, it was
Mhm.
horrible. It was
Right.
just horrible for them. And the fact that they're willing to relive that over and over again with their students
Mhm.
um, is just pretty priceless for folks, you know?
Right. Right.
Um,
Well, and
so
they just the other thing that really impressed me just overall is, my husband has a phrase. He always says, "We need to work smarter, not harder,"
yeah,
especially at our age. And
yes,
just the processes they've developed, they have just really thought out, and they keep records.
yeah.
That's so important to all of you, to encourage you. They keep records on their pests. When do certain pests show up in their greenhouses? And when, and they can look back and learn from those things. And it really challenged me just to look at my processes, like my peony harvesting process, and am I doing things smarter rather than
Right.
harder? They just have so many things from their years of experience that they've thought through and streamlined.
But I'm not sure which one of them or if it's both of them have that gift. Like you're saying, they want to be do record keeping because they understand the importance of it the next time they need it. And also, I mean, it is not easy to work with outsiders, to work with universities that are, I mean, you have to have time on top of everything else you're doing. And that's what has just, I've always been so surprised whenever back in the days when we were going to conferences all the time, right? I mean, I would go because I was on the board, so I had to kind of be there. But every time I would go, Steve and Gretel would be there. I mean, they're still busy at home, but they value education so much. And I think it's just really reflected in their course. And I'm just really proud to have published their course for them. And I think people right now are really overwhelmed with ending their season. People are still digging
Mhm.
dahlias. Um, and people are screaming that we got to shop early, and I'm one of them because we definitely have a break in the supply. We're already sold out of stuff that we know we can't get back in until next spring, probably.
Right. Right.
But I think people are just pushing this aside. And I am here to tell you that if you have a house, hoop or greenhouse, or you're thinking about it, this is a class that is going to help you for the rest of your growing days growing. Don't you agree, Wanda? I mean,
Yes,
it's
and they tell
deep.
you, they go through. I know other speakers, you do too, have gone through. They go through the different markets and the pros and cons of each one, and to help you, they go through your decision making process and how to decide which flowers to grow
Yeah.
depending on what market you're. And it's there's so much in there that you don't have to have a hoop house or greenhouse to just learn. I mean, I have pages and pages and pages of notes from their class.
Well, thank you for saying that because that's not really anything, that's not a point that I have really hit home, but you're exactly right. The crop planning, um, and also, don't they talk about monitoring for pests,
Hmm.
which I think is a lot of people. I mean, you know how a lot of people monitor, oh my gosh, what's all over my plant? It's too late at that
Right,
point, right?
right.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you for bringing that up. That I think that there is a lot in this course that can apply to field growing growers
Hmm.
and planning, and I also think it will prime you to keep your eyes peeled of where can a hoop house or
Right.
greenhouse fit into your picture and how you can expand it. You know, one of the other things that impressed me so much about them was one of the reasons they really wanted to start really extending into the shoulder seasons was to have more hours for their employees so they would have better employee retention.
Right.
And I just thought that was so smart. You know, I mean, they're big picture thinkers. There's no question about
Right.
that, you
Right.
know?
Right. For sure. And I bring this up often, but when I was teaching, every time I took a class on, reading strategies or math strategies, or it's tax deductible. And this is the same thing in your
Yeah,
farm business. Whenever you take something,
yeah,
that is improving your business and improving your skills, it's most of it is tax deductible. So I know that doesn't help you in the moment,
right.
but definitely down the line next spring it'll help you, yeah, on your taxes.
It will. And, I think that part of one of the things that Steve and Gretel, and I hope that I have too, is you have to step back away from what's facing you in the heat of the moment and look at the big picture.
Mhm.
And, investing in your education, I know it's hard. I'm facing a big investment right now with our bigger business. And, the day I was told the price after I got up off the floor, each day I'm seeing it clearer and clearer that that's what I have to do. And yes, that's a lot of money, but where is that money going to take us? And that's how knowledge and courses and expanding your horizons, right? I mean,
Right. Hmm.
it's just so much smarter. So thank you so much for
Yep.
saying that. Um, so how can people connect with you and follow you? Tell us how folks can connect with you.
Well, it's pretty much Fox Hollow Peonies everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, and
Okay.
then our website is foxhollowpeonies.com. And I did start something the year that COVID hit, and I was worried about because weddings were going away, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how am I going to sell my flowers? So I'm so thankful for our private Facebook group, because I just went on there and said, hey, do any of you farmers want peonies to add to your farmers market bouquets? I'd love to send you a box of 24 mixed peonies, and you can put them in your farmers market bouquets. And if you advertise that you're getting an Alaska peonies, people will go crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I had people, advertising, hey, I'm getting peonies from Alaska this weekend. You can add a peony to your bouquet for $5 or
Yeah.
whatever. And it was a big success. And
Awesome.
and I've made some great friends. I got to be friends with Janet with Petal and Stem, and I actually got to see her on our vacation.
I
Uh,
saw that. I
and
saw where y'all
visit
connected.
her
That
farm, and we're just best buddies now because we both just really connected, and it's been fun connecting with my flower farming friends, just through being able to send them a little box of peonies to add to their farmers market bouquets.
And Gretel and Steve, ship flowers nationwide also. And they have commented that the majority of their customers are actually other flower farmers. And
Mm-hmm.
I bet that's true for you too, isn't it? It's flower farmers looking that are doing events or for whatever reason,
Yeah, or weddings. I mean, there's
or
a lot of flower
weddings.
farmers that are branching, just like Jenny Love does, into
Yeah.
weddings. And so I'm getting orders for weddings from flower farming friends. Yeah, from Facebook and Instagram both.
That is so awesome, Wanda. So, Wanda, if so, I didn't even say anything really about the course. So, we're talking about Stephen Gretel's course, Growing Cut Flower Crops in Hoop and Greenhouses, of which Wanda was a student. Wanda is an Alaskan peony grower, and she has just shared her experience. And as always, I learned something from every student I talk to about a different perspective. And I really appreciate that Wanda brought out that there is just so much benefits from this course, even if you don't have hoop and greenhouses from the
Mm-hmm.
crop planting. You can learn more about their course at thegardenersworkshop.com. The course doesn't start until January. Enrollment ends Tuesday night. And we'd love to answer your questions. If you can email them to the office, DM me. I try to answer all the questions that come through. And I really encourage you to check it out because it is an outstanding class. Wanda, what would you say if there's somebody wondering and thinking about whether or not they should take this class? What would you say to them?
Oh, just like I said earlier, every tool that you can have in your toolbox to give you success, uh, it's just like when you buy a tool, it sits there in your toolbox till you need it. But when you need it, you really need it.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. I've learned so much from Dave's class, from Jenny Love's class. Even though I'm not doing weddings, I learned how wedding florists think. What are
Yeah.
they looking for? What they need. That has helped me tremendously in my business. So I just think if at all possible, and I know that Lisa offers a payment plan, if at all possible, this has so much in it just for flower farmers about pests and diseases and planting your crops. It just has a lot in it. And then when that day comes that you realize you do want to expand and extend your season and you're able to get a greenhouse or hoop house, you can just hit the ground running and you'll know what to do.
Thank you, Wanda. And thank you so much for joining us here. And Wanda is coming to us from Alaska. So you're about an hour from Fairbanks. Is that
Yes,
right?
we're at a little town right halfway between Denali Park and Fairbanks. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, and it's 15 degrees below where she is.
Right, right, right.
I'm a little chillier now just talking about that. We're at a whopping 45 or something here.
Mm-hmm.
So Wanda, I really appreciate your perspective on the course and sharing your experience. And so folks, now's the time to strike. You only have until Tuesday at midnight. Check it out. DM me if you have questions. And Wanda, I really, really thank you so much. And it was a pleasure to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, this is like a bucket list thing, with us flower farmers getting to talk to you live.
Oh, come
So,
on. I
yeah,
feel really
yeah.
honored to
Woo.
talk to you. I think,
Very
man,
excited.
I'm just so glad that you were able to join me here. And I really appreciate your input. And I know Steve and Gretel do too.
Thanks. Could
Um,
I add one little thing really quick?
sure.
Um, I'm really proud to be a member of the American Grown Flowers organization.
Yes.
And I would just like to encourage flower farmers to consider joining that organization. They do so much to lobby for American grown flowers, including making sure that all the dinners and things in the White House have American grown flowers on the tables. They just did that with the First Lady's luncheon that she has every year and made sure that American grown flowers were on the table there. And I just, especially now when, the chains are broken from other
Right.
sources, the more we can do to lobby for American grown flowers. And they also were very involved during COVID in making sure that, because flower farmers weren't included in the first agriculture money
Right.
that was sent out. And then American Grown Flowers folks lobbied really hard to get flower farmers included on the next round of money that went out. So
Awesome.
just to encourage you to consider joining that organization. They're really great, and the dues you pay will be really well used and well spent.
Thank you for that and highlighting that. Thank you, Wanda. All right, folks, we're going to call it a night. Um, so Laura, so you need to connect with Wanda about ordering her peonies. She's done, I think, for this year, but you can get on
Yep,
track for next year.
they're all
Uh,
under the snow right now.
yep, yep. So thank you so much, Wanda, and I hope our paths will pass again.
For sure. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you. Stay warm.
Okay, I
Ciao.
will. Thanks. Bye bye.